It is slightly past Wednesday, my dudes. It's almost 1 a.m. on American Thanksgiving morning because I said, I need to do my video today. It's 4 in the afternoon. I will take a short nap. And then I woke up and it was after midnight. Being old is just fucking wild. It really is. Anyway, I did get Gato successfully compiled and working, and I'm running on the 4.4 dev. And you probably recognize this graphic as the one that I was using as a placeholder in Groping Festival. But anyway, what I wanted to discuss. Oh, and just real quick. Here's the game as it currently stands. And you can see, this is probably confusing because you're like, it looks like nothing. But what you can see up here in the corner here, that is this little part of the character. Because you're not supposed to use the character model directly as the opening scene, okay? That's not the way it's supposed to be done. You would have a parent scene and the character placed within that scene. But anyway, what we have here is a character that moves with the WASD keys. They're right here. And it also moves with the arrow keys, which are over here. So we have alternate input. And there's controller support. There's controller support with the D-pad. Up, down, left, right. You can go in a circle. And obviously for the stick. And that's with a Steam controller, so I'm running it through Steam, and the reason that I'm running it through Steam is so I'll have Steam controller support. And in any case, I've got that working, and you can see the script is fairly simple. I mean, this is a butt simple script. It really is. And that's all just pulled out of the player input map, which is in the project settings. And all of that's configured over here. And there's a bunch of thoroughly unsexy stuff that I want to add to the project. That is the kind of blocking issue, because the first thing that I always build in any full project is the settings dialog. And the settings dialog, well, that's not a sexy thing to build, okay? But yeah, the thing that I want to talk about is the big idea and the small idea. And I've been playing Soulstone Survivors. You can see here I've got 37 hours in it over the last. Okay, I started playing on the 25th. So the 25th, 26th, and 27th, I've put 36 hours into. I had like 3 hours in it already. But that was from like last year, around this time last year, actually. I think it's been about 11 months since I actually played the game. But anyway, there's been a lot of progress. There's been a lot of change. There's been a lot of new stuff added. And the reason that I did that is every game has what I think of as like the big idea and the small idea, okay? And the small idea here is the kind of game I'm making. Like, obviously, I'm making a horde survival game. I'm making a Vampire Survivors clone. And making a Vampire Survivors clone is an idea, certainly. And you know, here's your small idea. But the big idea is, why would anybody play my horde survival game instead of somebody else's horde survival game? That's an important question, and you have to ask that, and you have to have a good answer to it. I don't have one yet, and that's the kind of thing that I'm working with. And what I came up with was, I said, wait. You know what I've never seen in a Vampire Survivors game? A skill tree. And a friend of mine said, Soulstone Survivors has a skill tree, and I was like, wait, does it? I don't remember that. I don't remember it having a skill tree. And then when I actually got into it, I went, oh yeah, 20 Minutes Till Dawn also kind of has a skill tree because it has dependent skills that you select. So there's a skill progression, and that's kind of a skill tree. I mean, it's like a whole bunch of different skill trees, but it's still kind of a skill tree. And that's sort of a way to address the card flooding, I guess, is what I would call it, where there's just so much stuff. And if you actually look at Soulstone Survivors and you look at the sheer number of stuff that comes up, sheer quantity of stuff, sheer number of things, sheer quantity of stuff. But when you look at Soulstone Survivors and you see like all of the stuff there is to pick from when you start the game, it's just too much stuff. It takes too long to get used to. And that's one of the things that has been bugging me about Soulstone Survivors is I don't think it's fun. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying the game is objectively not fun. I'm saying I don't have fun playing the game. It feels like just this endless grind. I have this checklist of stuff to do, and it takes forever to do it. And I'm not going, it would be really cool to do this thing. I'm going, oh, I have to do this thing next. And I go and do the thing. And one of the things that I'm thinking about, one of the things that I'm trying to figure out is, Halls of Torment didn't feel like that. Halls of Torment had these ridiculously, there are 500 achievements in Halls of Torment. How many are there in Soulstone Survivors? There are 366. So the question here is, how does Soulstone Survivors have 2/3 the achievements of Halls of Torment and still feel grindy as fuck? That's an interesting question, because in Halls of Torment, you have to collect almost 200 pieces of equipment. I've only collected like 160 of them. But that, even though that is definitely grindy, it doesn't feel grindy for some reason. And the question I'm asking is, why? Why does Soulstone Survivors feel grindy and Halls of Torment not feel grindy? And I don't have an answer to that yet. What I do have is a few observations about the kind of game that it is and the kind of person that it applies to. There's a huge amount of options to play with. There are 19 different characters, and there's space for 3 more. And each of those characters has their own skill tree that you work your way up. And it takes a long time. And there are all of these achievements, and there's all of this stuff to do. And it's a fairly difficult and time-consuming series of stuff to work on. Now, here's the big question. While this absolutely delivers value to the player, does it deliver value to the developer? Are we like... You've got 19 characters in this game. Would it have been better? Better being like a loaded term. When you look at the skill trees, there are 3 rings. There's the inner skill tree that's a bullseye, and then there's a ring of skill trees around that, and there's another ring of skill trees around that. And I look at that and I kind of scratch my head and I go, should this have been 2 games? Like, should there have been a Soulstone Survivors that was half of the characters and a Soulstone Survivors 2 that was the other half of the characters? That's a good question. I don't know what the answer to it is. And from a purely marketing perspective, having a Soulstone Survivors and a Soulstone Survivors 2 would it would let you have a it would let you have a division of player attention. So you could focus on one group of players in the first game and on the other group of players in the second. And wherever you have mutually exclusive decisions, you can make one decision in this game and the other decision in that game. And what you've got is two games that appeal to two different kinds of players. But if most of your features are common between the two games, and you can work on the same engine with both of them, because the engines are the same in both games, you can continue developing both of them. You can continue working on both of them. You could do a third game with 10 more characters. And DLC is bullshit. DLC fucking sucks. Update your main engine and just every DLC, just have it, instead of doing a DLC and saying, add this onto the first game, just make it its own game. There are a couple of reasons for that, but I don't want to get into them because the video's getting kind of long. Yeah, but the thing I keep looking at with Soulstone Survivors is they add content and add content and add content, and while that adds value for the current players, is it really adding value for the developers? Because if you go and you look at the store page, which I'm not going to show you, but I'm going to come over here and look at it. If you go and look at the store page, it's currently a $10 game and it's on sale for 30% off. It's a good thing to pick up if you're interested in these kinds of things. It's a good game. I don't have fun playing it, but you might. The thing about Soulstone Survivors that isn't fun for me is I don't get to enjoy the game. I'm constantly running from the enemy because way too many of the enemy have missile attacks and ranged attacks and area attacks, and I'm constantly concerned with getting out of the focus area for those attacks. Game does an excellent job from an interface perspective. Absolutely, this game does a great job. There's a lot of fantastic stuff you can learn looking at this game. But I spend the entire game looking at red circles on the ground and health bars. I don't really get to engage with the fiction of the game and the graphics and all of that stuff. And one of the things I'm thinking is, maybe the player's not supposed to engage with that. Maybe the player engages with red circles and health bars, and you're supposed to stream this game so other people can engage with the spectator aspect of it. And that's something to think about. But yeah, the video's gotten a little long here. And I didn't even really talk about all the stuff I wanted to talk about. I guess I'll have to talk about that stuff on Saturday. But yeah, I got a bunch of stuff to work on. I got to work on getting the coordinates right at the borders of a scrolling world. I got to work on making a physics process work among them. I am not sure how to make that happen. But it's a problem I need to resolve before I make a lot of progress on the game, just like internationalization and localization. I can't add any text to the game. I can't add even the main menu or the settings dialog to the game without first going, how do you select your language? And how do we set up the game so it's available in another language? Because, you know, I would probably do the FIGS model where it's like, okay, we need to localize the game. We do French, Italian, German, Spanish, done. But it's a weeb game. So because it's a weeb game, we've got Japan and China and Korea, and China has traditional and simplified Chinese. And on top of that, the three most overlooked markets in the world are Poland, Russia, and Brazil. So you need Polish, and you need Russian, and you need Brazilian Portuguese, because these people are fucking rabid for games that are available in their language. You know, it's just, they love that. They think it's great. And that's millions of people who are begging for your game to be available in their language, because if it was, they would buy it. It's just dumb not to try and localize into those languages. So I need to think about the localization and the internationalization and how the world works, and that's the conceptual thing. That's kind of the big. I'm going way, way, way off topic. I'm going to stop yapping at this point and do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all of that happy horse shit, and I'm gonna go and do some more work on trying to figure out how to handle the looping game where you go off the left side and come onto the right side, and you go off the top and come onto the bottom. It's one thing if you're talking about screen space, but it's another thing entirely if you're talking about world space, and the character is static, but the world is moving around them. You're not really moving your character in the world. When you move, it's the world that moves around you. Anyway, that's there's a bunch of thoroughly non-sexy stuff, and I think the best way to cover the non-sexy stuff is to show it to you when it's working, and not just yap about it. So, and it's grunt work. I know how to do this, except the world thing. The world thing, I'm still trying to figure it out. There are multiple options, and I'm not sure which one is going to be the right option. But the way you solve these things is to experiment. So I'm going to do some experimenting and see what happens. Anyway, that's all I have to say about that. So okay, bye.